Okay, well, it's really nice to have this opportunity. I'm obviously the only Green councillor. I'm the only Green councillor there's ever been. So obviously you'll go, yeah, she's talking about the climate. She would talk about the climate. So I want to sort of think about the motion I'm proposing, which is just a declaratory motion. That's the phrase. Thank you, Chair. And it's to note that there is a climate and ecological emergency bill going through the House of Parliament. This has been proposed by Caroline Lucas, but there's currently 110 MPs in support. So it's something that's going to come back in September. Obviously, COVID has affected things that have gone through Parliament. And you might think, why is that relevant to Ada? And I'm going to develop my theme and hopefully explain why that is the case. So I want to think about those words, climate and ecological emergency. Now, many of you were here at the council 2 years ago, a very hot July day, when the climate emergency was declared by Ada Council, and then some people will argue that it was the Conservative executive that declared it. Some people say it was the 1,000+ signatures on the petition. Some people say it was the Labour group that put the motion forward. But anyway, there was cross-party consensus that we needed to declare a climate emergency. Now, obviously, things that have been happening in Ada prior to that, but the step change since that declaration has been really notable. Having been at attendance at JSC and noticed other events that have happened locally, I wanted to particularly refer to the Sustainable Aileron Worthing plan that came up last Tuesday, and also the platform for our places. The kelp beds as well is something that we're all aware of. So there have been lots and lots of things that have happened locally that we can all go, oh, that's really good. Look, well done us, aren't we great? The bike share, the 2 electric vehicle charging points, the ground source heat pump, air source heat pump that's coming on this building. There's lots and lots of things that are happening which we can be pleased with. So a lot of people are sitting there going, yeah, we're doing pretty well. And Ada can genuinely be said to be leading the way in some of the actions that we've taken, and we're ground setting. So the blue carbon agenda that's coming with the kelp project is groundbreaking. It's a new financial instrument that's going to have to be developed. And I've happened to know the chief executive of the Blue Marine Foundation, who I talked to at length before the meeting to try and understand what's going on with that. It seems like a perfect solution. You make a financial instrument so people who are interested in money can invest in reducing carbon. Sounds like a great plan. So we are doing a lot of things that sound really good. And we can be pleased with the step change. But, you knew there was a but. If you think about the words climate and ecological emergency, we're sitting here in our lovely town, which is really beautiful, all a bit boiling, looking at the lovely trees. But people just like us in Canadian provinces, in America, people just like us who have a high standard of living, a good quality of life, they live in a really rich country, they have perfect infrastructure, etc. They have been living in conditions of 49 plus 50 degrees Celsius, heat dome, an unprecedented emergency. We've got people just like us, our cousins. My brother lives in Holland. My friends live in Germany. So people in Poland, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, who have been flooded. Hundreds of people have died in Europe because of unprecedented flooding. So, are we treating this as an emergency? I don't think we are yet. I don't think we've individually made the emotional connection. And then just yesterday I heard about the Chinese city, which I'm not going to attempt to pronounce, which is a large city with an underground metro system. I'm a Londoner, so I'm used to that idea of the tube, where the water flooded into the underground system and the people on the train had the water coming to the carriages and they had to hold their heads up like this as the water flooded in, because they had a year's worth of rain in 3 days. Now, these are people just like us. They're human beings, they've got lives, they've got jobs, they've got families. They thought they were okay, but these emergencies came about. So, I'm passionate about the environment, and I have been since I was about 12 years old, and I'm very sorry, you're all going to get very bored of me, but we have to treat it as an emergency. So this is a declaratory motion because I want us to think about, first of all, if it goes through Parliament, there will be, I could actually say what I meant to be saying, hang on. I'm nearly there. If it actually goes through Parliament, this bill, I think we should be on notice. And on page 30 of your reports pack, Roman letter V, there is a bill before Parliament, the Climate and Ecological Emergency Bill, which, if it became law, would require the government to develop a strategy to address the emergency. And then at the bottom in F, it says, an independent temporary climate and nature assembly is set up, representative of the UK population, to help develop the emergency strategy. Now, that's obviously central government, but we in district councils, in borough councils, in county councils, have a responsibility, in parish councils, we have a responsibility to the people that live in our area. Because what if that jet stream wobble hadn't affected Canada and America? What if it had affected us? What if the flooding that happened in Europe, if it had just been 100 miles or 200 miles further over to the west, that would have been us. We'd be all underwater now. We wouldn't be having this meeting because there'd be, the infrastructure would be out. So we really have to take this very seriously. And the reason I put this declaratory motion is because I don't believe that anything we can just say quickly tonight will make any difference. But we need to step up our game. So, if I could get this laptop to stay on. I wanted to... Coming. This shuts off way too quickly. Right, I wanted to refer you to something that many of you will have seen for the Local Government Association, and if I had had more sense, I would have prepared it for you and been able to show it to you. I'm going to wave my laptop at you, and then some of you will go, oh yeah, I've seen that before. So, it looks like this, and in the minutes I might see if it's possible to include this. If any of you have seen this before, if you haven't, that's fine. I'm going to read to you what it says. So what it says at the bottom, the little black circle at the bottom, is that the council has direct control of buildings, operations and travel. Fine. And that's what our climate emergency addresses, and that's what quite a lot of our sustainable aid and Worthing addresses. And then we look at the next ring round, and that's procurement, commissioning and commercialisation. And that is something we're having an impact on. So we're thinking about local source of food, we're thinking about the EV, about using the car hire schemes. So we're looking at the way we operate there. Then there's place shaping, and there's quite a lot about that in sustainable aid and Worthing. And that's things like the kelp forest is asking for us to have a marine park in our environment. So we're reaching out further, we're expanding our impact. Then we've got showcasing, innovating, piloting, demonstrating, sharing good practice, scaling and replicating. So you might say to some extent, the air source, ground source heat pumps, the Worthing heat network, the hydrogen hub, these are examples of this. We're testing out what's possible. And we're trying to show locally we can do this, maybe others can do it. Then the E on this lovely diagram is partnerships, leading, bringing people together and organisations. Now, I don't think we're there yet. There's some mention of this. Again, in the Sustainable Aid and Worthing pack and platforms for our places, there's a massive long list of all the people that are involved. But are we all on board? Are we all working together for this? Because this is an emergency. It's really serious, and we have to treat every decision as though we could have been under that jet stream. So it's very important that we all take this on board. I want you to go and watch some footage if you didn't watch the floods, if you didn't think about those poor people in America and the wildfires. This could have been us. It's just about where fate put that jet stream. And finally, there's involving, engaging, communicating, and that is where we come in as councillors. And with our other hats on, with our other jobs, all the other things that we do, we have to talk to everybody, because even if I've persuaded some of you tonight that this is an emergency, the people out there in the shops, in the schools, on the streets, they don't really viscerally believe yet how significant and important it is. So,
you have 30 seconds, Councillor.
30 seconds, right. Perfect. I'm a teacher. So, the motion is just a declaratory motion. It's to be alert that this is going through Parliament, but it's for each of us individually to think about this for ourselves, our own impact on the world, and what we can do to act to make ourselves and our communities prepared for the future. Thank you very much.
Perfect time. Thank you very much. Councillor Collins, you have, as a seconder, you have 5 minutes to address the council. We can do it towards the end. Do you wish to address the council?
Having listened, I really couldn't add anything to what Councillor Gabe has said. She's done an admirable job, and hopefully everybody has listened, and I applaud her. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As it's been seconded, it is now open to debate. Councillor Gardner.
I'm very happy to speak in support of this motion. The bill, as presented in Parliament last month, is actually a new and improved version of the bill, and it's supported by MPs from almost all parties from across the UK. Now, I would emphasise one thing that, or many things, but one thing in particular that Councillor Crisp said, which was we had cross-party agreement on this council to declare a climate emergency. Cross-party, we've agreed to put air source pumps on the roof. Adur is doing a lot of good work on this. It can do better, of course, but Adur can't meet the challenge on its own. Even Adur and Worthing can't meet the challenge on its own. So I think what this bill is saying, let's get serious across the UK. Targets are fine, action is even better, and let's enshrine in law protection of our ecosystems and not leave it to political whims and possible, changing of minds. So the bill asks the government to develop a strategy to truly address the emergency we are all seeing across the world, and I would ask all councillors to support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Nicholas.
Thank you, Chair. Let's try again. Thank you, Chairman. Only to say, I think I would agree with what's been said so far. It's very difficult, I think, for anybody to not agree with such a passionate statement. Very little to disagree with. I would just point out, though, I think that credit where it's due. I think some of what Adur District has done so far has been quite groundbreaking. And whilst I would certainly not would certainly not condone any complacency, I think that some of the initiatives that have been referred to have been should be applauded. So I think our executive members have done very well in that respect so far. But I would hope and expect that as a council we would want to continue to be groundbreaking, and I think we would applaud what's been said and hope we can continue to do even more.
Councillor Nicholas. Councillor Arnold.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to Councillor Crisp for a really passionate statement on this. I think what's really interesting about this, obviously it's declaratory, but is that actually what sets this apart, this bill, is that there will be annual carbon emission targets that will need to be adhered to, and that the Climate Assembly will lobby and ensure that that would happen. In addition, and that really does set it apart, because at the moment the climate emergency that was called across Parliament and received unilateral support is not legally binding in any way. So I fully support this, and I think what's also the thing that sets this apart, this bill, is that it talks very heavily about supply chain, and a lot of the climate emergencies called by the government and by local councils doesn't delve into that so much. And of course, if we don't tackle supply chains collectively in terms of its carbon neutrality, offsetting, then we'll never achieve globally what we need to achieve. Thank you.
Okay. If there is no further debate, Councillor Crisp, you have the right to reply.
Thank you very much. I welcome the support, Chair, that I've received. Thank you very much to people across this council. I wanted to add a couple more things. So the 1% of what happens in Ada that is controlled by our council is a start, but even if we could become completely carbon neutral ourselves, that's 99% of everything that goes on in Ada in terms of carbon emissions and also in terms of ecological areas that we have nothing to do with. So I think we need to be really bold in leading, and if we possibly can, in steering with our carrots and our sticks that are available to us as councillors, to set the tone and say, well, this is the kind of place that we live and this is the kind of thing we'd like to see. I welcome in particular the addition of resilience to the sustainable Ada and Worthing as one of the categories, and I think when we see the flooding, the fires, the heat domes, we need to really consider, are we resilient? And I don't think we are. The last thing I wanted to say was what John Kerry said yesterday, the American climate envoy who's come over, and he said, we do not have the luxury of time to wait for the COVID pandemic to be over before we address climate change. It's an emergency. So, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Councillor Crisp. Okay, having been debated, proposed, seconded, debated, we now are going to have a vote to note. Can I have all those in favour please raise your hands? I think that's unanimous. Motion is, the proposal is carried.